Welcome to the Showgirl Connection, and I'm your host, Luann. Today our guests are from the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts, and they are so talented and so creative, and they've been so dedicated in promoting the Showgirl and the vision of the Showgirl Legacy Foundation to preserve the historic Showgirl as a performing artist through their art and their paintings. So please welcome art instructor Kelly Mabel and three of her students, Anthony, Wynn, and Angel. So Kelly.
Hi, Luann.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
So I wanted to start first with a phone conversation that we had almost 19 years ago, you said.
19 years ago. It was the Friday before spring break.
That's right.
I was packing up stuff to leave for spring break in my office, and
I called you because I had an idea. And our fellow friend and dancer, Linda Spinks,
correct,
both of her daughters were in your art class.
yes,
I called her to tell her my idea about a Showgirl art competition, and she said, you need to call Kelly Mabel and run it by her. So I picked up the phone, and I called you. So my question is,
I had a moment because my office
ago?
phone rang, and I never answer my office phone, ever. And something compelled me to answer the phone, and I was getting ready to leave, and I was like, why do I feel compelled to answer this phone call? And I should just let it go to voicemail. So I answered the phone, and you started with how you wanted to preserve the iconic Showgirl, the legacy, the historical content, and also have that preserved artistically.
Yes.
And initially, my first response always, because at the Las Vegas Academy, people are always calling, can you do a mural? Can your kids paint this? And they are usually taken advantage of and seen as student artists that should not necessarily be paid, that it's an honor for them to have their work shown. And I have quite an attitude about that my students are the best in the city, and they should be revered. They compete with the adults in our community, as artistically and conceptually talented as they are. And initially my answer was no, and you said, well, I have award money. And I said, okay, let's talk a little further about this. So if there's a possibility that their work would be recognized publicly, and then also there would be monetary compensation for their time and their effort and their technical ability, that I thought that that would be something that could be reciprocated. That yes, we could continue to have shows, and the more we talked and the more we met, and then as the years progressed, I realized that not only were you vested in promoting and keeping the historical content of Las Vegas and the connection with the Showgirls in our community, but also revering and elevating our student artists at LVA.
And I was so thankful that you saw that right away, and then it became part of your curriculum.
Definitely. No, we spend 2 days doing research all the way back to Moulin Rouge. We talk about other historical artists that have done poster designs, some famous, not so famous, but what that meant in that community, and how over time artwork was the traditional and the only way to draw and paint, print, and preserve those images long before the camera was ever invented. So as we kept talking, I realized that that was one of the best and most original ways to kind of honor each other.
Right, and combine the visual arts with the performing arts.
Correct.
And I loved that. And so they start with their curriculum. It's coming up this week, right? Are they starting to?
We've got printmaking. We have a little bit of, I have another guest artist coming in, so somebody that actually just was selected for the Metallica album cover.
Wow.
So they'll have a little bit of experience with some design elements, and then after we get back from spring break, we'll start with some figure studies. So they've got the anatomy, the proportion, the technical aptitude is that entire foundation will be laid out, and then we can start moving into the historical, the conceptual. Do you want the showgirl under the lights? Do you want the showgirl behind the scenes? We've had students take photos and use their photo references in the dressing room and stage that process. And also the ideas of the showgirl imagining themselves on stage when they were just a child. So we've had all of those conceptual ideas also come into play. So I think, initially we have to start with the technical. Once all of the logistics are laid out, you guys have, and that's why you're here, such an incredible innate artistic feel for compositional layout and what makes a strong artwork on the surface, but then to elevate that with the narrative, I think becomes seamless.
So they spend probably about a week
We talk about
talking about it.
Right. What are some of the negative stereotypes? What are some of the horrible things that have been said about showgirls in our community, and why you bring in and
Right.
do so much work to bring in this fabulous guest panel and have
Right, so I bring
choreographers
I bring in a
and
panel of entertainers
costume
that have
designers,
been in the
right.
shows and can talk to the students about it, that are available for questions. And then I bring in live iconic showgirls that danced in those shows in those costumes for sketching and photo references. And so then they have that, and then after that, they have time in the classroom then to work on their painting.
Right. So once at this point, we have a plethora of photographic references. You had your historical photos, that some of which I think were like candids that weren't even allowed to be like shown publicly until like recently, right?
That's right.
So you've had
Things have really changed.
such like a body of photographic references, and then with the opportunity of bringing in the showgirls in costume, in preserved costumes that aren't
right.
even recreated anymore with those materials. And then you allow them to handle and touch
Yes.
what we've researched as far as the crystals and the types of feathers and how heavy the headpieces and the
Yes.
backpacks and the weight of what you're wearing and how much money was actually invested in
Right.
your
And
costumes.
some of
Then
those-
they build an appreciation for all of what is actually in front of them, do their figure studies. So that's kind of our warm up, so that everybody's having fun and understanding the poses and how you want, I don't know, because I know you kind of have a vision for what the final imagery should look
Well,
like.
we both do, since
right?
this is our 19th year collaboratively working on this
Right.
project. You have a real feel for it as well. And then your eye.
Well, you've educated me,
well,
of
right.
course.
But,
Like,
I mean,
we
isn't
can't
she one of
stand
the
like
best
this. We can't
teachers?
do that. There's
Yes.
showgirls should not sit in costume. So there's all of that I wasn't aware of, that you also educate all of my students and me as well. Over almost 20 years, I've developed a complete different appreciation for all of the training, the dance lessons, the hours, the athleticism, what it takes, like just the conviction to be on stage. Like, I could never do that. Like, there's no way. Like, I want to hide and be in the corner and draw something. So to have all of that exposure as opposed to looking up a photo reference online, I think
Yes.
becomes profound, because then they have a connection. They've talked to the showgirl. And then I'm even veering off to like Wes Winters playing. The whole thing's just a celebration of what you have done and preserved for our community.
Thank you. Yes, and,
Yeah.
and you've been part of that, and the students embrace it because it's part of their history too. The students that have
Right.
grown up here in Las Vegas is so unique to Las Vegas entertainment, and you're helping to keep
And it's
that
diminished and
image out
diminished
into the
and
community.
Yeah, they'll never be able to go and see
I-
that original
exactly.
type of show does not exist anymore.
Because remember, when we first started, they could go see Jubilee.
Right.
In fact, one of our first models performed in Splash, graduated from the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts,
And came back.
became a dancer in Splash, and came back as our model.
Mm-hmm.
Or the students would be saying, "Oh,
My mom knows, or
yeah,
my mom
aunt,
danced.
this is
or
my
right.
aunt, or this is my grandmother." So it's just been a wonderful 19 years with you. So John is giving us the his little
Time.
break, that it's time for a commercial break, but don't go away because we'll be right back.
Great tasting, thirst quenching, award-winning wines, Pine Hollow Winery. Live music, wine tastings, happy hours.
Best thing in Las Vegas is Pine Hollow Winery.
So wine in sometime, 7018 West Charleston Boulevard, Las Vegas.
So welcome back. We're here with Kelly Mabel and three of her art students, Jose, Angel, Anthony, and Wynn. So I'm going to have Kelly talk now about the process when the students have their artwork critiqued, and then she'll introduce us to the students and they can talk about their artwork.
Okay. So when on the end, Anthony next to me, they have now since ninth grade was the initial exposure, and then last year with you. In ninth grade, I have them for their final exam learn a plethora of black and white oil painting techniques so that we can replicate I can't even begin to go over the amount of texture. So that in and of itself, I think is a huge test. Just taking
feathers,
blobs
the
of oil paint and
rhinestones, the Swarovski
recreating
crystals,
right, the crystals
beads.
versus the skin versus just the feathers, just to name three profoundly different textural surfaces that they needed to master. And then all the rest of the costuming, the background, the gradients, and working with that. So ninth grade year, that's really a test in black and white, and you guys brought your black and white paintings. And then as junior year, we revisit and go back to the guest panel with the Showgirls in costume. And then their junior year, which was last year, because you guys are both seniors now, they have any media that they've acquired in their tool belt. So over the course of those 3 years, there's colored pencil, different mixed media. We spent quite a long time using gouache, colored oil paint. So that 10th grade, that sophomore year, second levels, intense color theory. So you guys come back to me after training with the sophomore level teachers, just with an unbelievable amount of skill. So do you guys want to talk about what you completed last year, and you want to show those paintings now, or you want to wait?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'll go first.
So this is Wynn.
So then you want to, what media did you use? Because
s-
that's one of the things that we go over in the
That's right.
critiques.
Well, for mine is that I used oil paint, colored oil paint, and what was your question again?
No, that was exactly it. Did you embellish with any other materials besides oil?
No, I actually only used oil for this. It was actually very tedious to get this done, especially with the little with like the sequins and like getting the lighting done, because oil likes to smudge a lot, and likes to mix a lot. So I had to wait for it to dry, and then I had to reapply. Oil paint on top of it, as like either from straight out the tube or just wait for it to dry more.
So that you could build up all of the layers. Yeah, and so you've got a beautiful contrast between the satin and the gloves and skin and the beautiful feathers, which are multiple types of feathers. So the ones on the sleeve, you've developed that fluffy kind of airy atmosphere versus the weight of the crystals and captured all of the facets in the light. And then conceptually, do you want to talk about what struck you about that photo reference? Why you picked that one? Because she's kind of out of character. Like,
It looks like she's almost getting ready. Is she putting on her costume to go on stage?
I think this was she was starting to take off one of her costume pieces, and I was like, I think I want to reflect the more of the realness and like the outside of the show kind of feel of how outside, like being outside of the show is like kind of more real and it expresses more emotion
humanity and her emotional.
So is that from a painting or is that from your memory? I mean, a photo.
It was from a photo.
It is
yes.
a photo. Where did you find the photo?
I took the photo myself. We had this whole thing where we were all brought into this auditorium where we were able to take photos of, I think it was 2 different showgirls, and they all rotated out in between each other. And I think I was just taking pictures like nonstop, and which did burn a light into my phone camera. But I think I just kept snapping photos, and I think this is like when she was like taking off one of her things. It was like, I think this was like a moment that I was like, oh, it's like I need to snap this like really fast, or else like I'm not gonna get this like sort of like moment ever again.
That's
Very
a
nice.
great way to capture that.
Yes.
And then for you, do you want to go down the line? And Jose Angel, you want to show yours?
Okay.
Thanks, Wynn.
Yeah, for
Beautiful
sure.
painting. So I picked up the artwork yesterday from Blick Art Materials. So you're looking at the winning artist from the 2024 Showgirl Art Competition, and it's hanging at Blick Art Materials on West Charleston if you're interested in coming down and looking closer at the paintings.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, bless you.
Okay.
I'm gonna move this.
So, where do I start with this?
Let's take another angle. What do you feel like you learned about painting with black and white oil?
So, definitely throughout it, I was constantly having to adapt. I had never used oil paint before this class, and it was definitely a lot of a learning curve.
Because I think you hit a moment in the beginning where you're like, I can't do these crystals.
Yes,
And then
it was definitely a lot of hard work, and then obviously I kept having to ask you for help, and it's just like trying to adjust and learn how to do it and then replicate from realness, and I wanted to do it justice, you know. I think especially the crystals were very tedious. One day it was narrowing down the time that we had to work on it, and one
Close to the
day
contest.
I just sat down and I'm like, I'm gonna get this done. So I sat there for maybe like 6 hours just working on the crystals on her chest piece and the necklace and the earring, and thankfully I got it done.
Well, and you have such a wonderful reflective quality just with all of the refraction and the crystals and how the light bounced off her skin tone and developing all of the variety of textures. Because I know that hat that when I saw those costumes come in, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a lot of work, because all of this sequence on the bodice piece versus what was going across the top with those giant crystals and the feathers and the gloves, it was a lot of detail.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
definitely-
it was quite a bit
Yeah.
of hours.
And those costumes were from Jillian Gardner. She's the costume designer, and she created those costumes for Katy Perry when she was on America's Got Talent. And so she still used, I mean, the quality of those costumes were still real similar to back in the day, but we've kind of brought it up to
Contemporary,
now,
right.
contemporary, but they were still beautiful costumes,
Yes.
and they were pink, so they were,
Yeah.
Really intense colors,
yes.
especially against the skin tone. Did
And you
that
captured her
costume, why did you pick
smile.
that photo reference?
I, going into this after taking the time and learning all about the history of the Showgirls, and definitely a lot of the negative opinions about them struck me, especially because how you teach us, we know that it's very hard work and it's very demanding, but it's also very rewarding, I feel like. And going into it, and especially at the panel and everything, meeting them and meeting you, it was just such an eye-opening experience, and I wanted to really capture the emotions that I felt, for all of the different showgirls and people that we got to meet. And her pose, I felt she looked really happy. And I know a part of it is like it's performance scene, but I like to think that she was enjoying it. And I think it was around 600 photos.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I had to narrow it down. And honestly, I really liked, I don't remember her name, I'm sorry, but this
That's,
showgirl specifically,
Mhm.
I really loved her energy throughout it. I sat closer to her, and I got to see her pose differently. And throughout the whole thing, I just really enjoyed her performing. So I decided to paint her, and I just really wanted her to be almost looking like she was in a show, actually, and performing and enjoying being a showgirl.
And I think that's part of like that transformative. Like I have this photo reference. There was all this stuff in the black box or whatever stage that we're on. I mean, even one year
Yes, we
early,
did.
we were in my classroom and there was like posters and all this distraction. And their ability to really hone in and create a strong composition and negate everything else that was around them in that space, what was happening in that moment, and create these transformative moments where they're still communicating like that enjoyment and the love for what you still love to do. I mean,
Exactly.
just recently
Yes.
you were dancing.
Well.
So, and I think all of you guys are going to talk about the fact that they're taking hundreds of photos. We spend like 2 or 3 days like going through like pick your top 10, then let's narrow that down to like 4 or 5 and then get to your 1 or 2 favorites. And so then there's all of the cropping and gridding, and you can't have a phenomenal painting without the foundation of a phenomenal drawing. So all of these guys, I mean, our students work so hard. Like
Yes, they
that
do.
underdrawing that exists in all of these works is, there's moments where the kids are like, I don't know if I want to paint over this. Like, so I think that becomes exciting, and it really, I don't know, it makes my 31 years all worth it when you guys say like, this is the first time I used black and white oil, because there's adults that come in to judge the competition, and like there's no copying, there was no projector. They inch by inch, moment by moment, like hand drew every single aspect of all of those details and then
right.
painted it.
And some people think it's a photo.
No.
Yeah.
And the community just looks forward to your paintings every year. And every year people will go, oh, this is the best show. I mean, every year, this is the best show. And we bring in panel of judges. We have 20 judges now, and they'll spend hours
Deliberating, looking,
at your
talking. But then
paintings.
I think some of my best moments are when they're like, oh my gosh, I remember that. And then there's like a
Yes.
whole nother narrative recapping what they lived. That to me becomes the most fun, to like be the person in the background, like listening to you guys recount what you experienced.
Yes. And that's exactly what our vision was with the Showgirl Legacy Foundation, was to keep that image alive of that classic, iconic showgirl and out in the community and people love it. They look forward every year to seeing your paintings, and can't believe that it's coming from a high school.
Ninth graders.
Ninth graders.
When you have your black and white one, and I know, Anthony, you have yours. So these were like ninth grade images.
So now was their first opportunity to use oil paints, right?
Yeah. And so that whole foundation at the Las Vegas Academy that was developed by Carol Treat is that ninth grade year is just value, texture, black and white, grayscale, graphite, charcoal, black and white oil paint, and that's it. There's no color theory until their second year. Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, look at the jewels. The jewels in her headpiece and her necklace and her arm are just stunning.
Anything specific, like, and then I think that's another thing we could touch on is what's the difference between, like, what you thought was interesting or difficult, like ninth grade in black and white versus having a lot more freedom and more, like a deeper understanding of mixed media and color, like how that affected your work as well.
And Anthony was in your ninth grade and 11th grade class.
Correct.
So he has two paintings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This one I did in ninth grade, and unfortunately I missed that day we all went to the black box and took photos. I missed that, and so when I came back I had to go through a
It
whole
was your
Google
photo
Drive.
panels. That was a photo, I think, or was that
And that's
another?
Brittany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was an earlier photo. So we've been, between you and I, compiling photos for almost
18
20
years.
Yeah. Exactly. So there's just so many great photo references that they have available that were taken with the Showgirls that you brought in. So they're not
Yes.
web imagery. It's other student photographs and or a photo that
Maybe Ginny took, or
right.
Lola, your daughter, took.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw this photo through the bunch of photo references that were available to me to pick from to paint for the assignment, and I just really liked the lighting and how dark and like how much contrast was between the highlights of the jewels and then the really, really dark background, and I just really wanted to capture that and try, because this was also my first oil painting, and I really wanted to kind of challenge myself, and I can't remember how long it took me, but like I knew it was definitely a while, and like these jewels, I used just a thick amount of paint to impasto on them, and
And look
all
at
the
your
highlights.
fishnets. Look at the fishnets down there.
Yeah,
I mean, just the detail. I love the detail.
yeah, and I really liked just the pose she was doing about with her arm and her pointing. I think it really gave like a sense of movement, kind of like for the piece, and yeah.
And that was one of the costumes that we collaborate with different organizations. The foundation has a small collection of costumes, but my vision was always to collaborate with the community. So that was a costume from Jubilee, the stage show Spectacular Jubilee.
Yeah, and then I have my junior year one.
But this was the one
So-
you actually left to go out of town, and
Yeah, so
this was like a mad dash.
this one I completed after school here had ended because I was leaving to New York for the summer, and I needed to get my drawing and painting done just so I can have it in the contest before I leave. And it was literally like the night before my flight. I was just
He was emailing and emailing.
I was like I'm gonna get my mom to drop it off and everything.
So we
but-
were just
Thank
trying
goodness
to
for mom.
coordinate
seriously.
drop off, and I was like, I'll be here.
Yeah, and then it was funny too because like I remember just staying up like all night just finishing it. I watched like 6 or 7 movies, just like doing it. I like finished a whole movie trilogy just doing this bottom half right here with their chest piece and everything. It took forever, but it was definitely worth it. I used color pencil, acrylic and some gouache in there too, and just because I thought it would be able to give me like the best contrast between the background and the figure.
And what does the background say?
Stardust. This is a
Stardust
Stardust
Hotel.
hotel sign, yeah.
Yep.
And so I chose that. Obviously, the Stardust sign wasn't in the back, in the photo. So I wanted to choose the Stardust. I wanted to choose the Stardust because it was the original Showgirl.
Yes, it was. The Stardust, the Lido de Paris was the first show to come to Las Vegas in 1958, and the Folies Bergère followed shortly after that. But very good.
Yeah, and I wanted to,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that kind of history to this artwork because I had a lot of negative space, and I just thought the background was really plain. I was like, all right, well, so what can I add to the background that makes sense? And so, we did a bunch of research in class, and then I found out, and I really liked the older sign because it's like the original
It's a great
sign, right?
sign.
And
Yes.
I really liked how it looked, so I decided to put that in the background of the figure. Yeah.
Well, you created such like an ethereal kind of
Yeah.
like almost stars moving, and like with all of the stippling and the replication of the lights, and then repeated that on the crystals in the sequence, so it just became so seamlessly unified.
Yeah, I chose this photo because I finally got to go to the black box to actually take my photos and everything, and that
Okay.
was my first time doing it, and like it was really cool seeing all the showgirls there and all the posing, and there's so many people there just taking photos, and so everyone's like crowding around taking pictures and like moving their phones in and out of the way, and so I was able to capture a moment where she was actually looking at me, because usually she's looking out and like around, and so I was able to find like a photo she was looking at my camera, and I thought it was like a really like cool kind of like connection point with I can portray in a painting
Yes.
and drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely one of my favorites. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Oh, we need to take a commercial break, so this is perfect timing. But don't go away, because we'll be back again to continue talking about the Showgirl.
Are you feeling overwhelmed or stressed? Remember to take a moment for your mental health. At the Mental Health Moment, we believe in the power of self-care and community support. Our mission is to encourage and empower individuals across generations to prioritize their mental well-being. Our program called CARE takes you through community, awareness, resources, and education so we can support you every step of the way. Join us at the Mental Health Moment. Visit our website or follow us on social media, because your mental health matters. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
So welcome back, and we are here to continue talking to Anthony, Wynn, and Angel about being artists. Right, Miss
Yeah.
Mabel? And how did they end up in your class in the 9th grade? How did
Wynn
they
and
get there?
Anthony are COVID auditionees. That I think was a horrible struggle. So at the Las
Yeah,
Vegas
rough
Academy,
time.
for every major that's offered, all of the students have to go through a really rigorous process of coming up with either a required monologue, a song. For us specifically, there's 4 required drawings, and then they have to complete a 30-minute still life, which usually is on campus in front of us. There's a massive mountain of still life opportunities to walk around, and they have to sit and do their 30-minute drawing test. But during COVID, we couldn't get everybody together, so Wynn and Anthony had to complete that on their own, record themselves, upload their 4 required images as still images, and then had to do a 30-minute recording of themselves drawing a still life, which, I don't know, Anthony said it would be harder than what Jose Angel went through, is to like come on campus, bring your portfolio, drop that off, know that you're being adjudicated, and then go into the still life room and draw that. So I don't know if you guys want to touch on what the fun aspects were of that, because sometimes I talk to students and they're just like, oh my god, I remember the boots that you had on and what you said to me, and like as an 8th grader to come and do that, I think is just a test in and of itself, is to be prepared, to be organized, to have the wherewithal and the foresight to plan to get accepted to the top school in our community for I can't even imagine like how nervous I would be doing that, and I'm always on the other side. So
And as 8th graders, did you guys, I mean, like when I started ballet when I was 6, did you start drawing when you were 6? When did you start drawing? And where did you come from? Where did your talent come from?
So I was born here in Vegas, but
Okay.
I started pretty young age. I think I started around 8. I started drawing around 8 or maybe younger. So I think it's just been around like most of my life, and so it was like on and off. But I think eventually, by the time I got towards like middle school and then towards 8th grade, that's when I started picking it up more, and that's where like I kind of started like just like putting my all into art by that time. And so
So you went to the regular schools up until 8th grade, and then
yes.
applied at LVA?
But
Regular schools, you know what I mean?
regular schools, whatever. But,
well, not a magnet school.
Right, yeah, not a magnet school.
but definitely magnet school so far. It's definitely different from your regular schools that you would attend, because LVA is such a different type of school since it's a magnet while it's like a regular CCSE school at the same time. And so I think that aspect of it, while it's trying to follow like the regular CCSD curriculum while trying to balance like students' actual majors, it's a very very challenging. So I think that's also what's pushed me forward in my art career as a student at LVA. So
Are you going to college?
I am. I'm planning to go to the East Coast, like nearby Chicago or maybe nearby New York.
You want to talk about the schools that you just applied to?
Oh, okay. So
Because I know we're waiting on a big response. From
So
them.
yeah. So basically, one school I already got accepted to was SIC. Another school I applied to was Cooper, and killing me is anticipation so badly. And then I applied to 2 other art schools, Art Center and Cal Arts, which I've been accepted to, but waiting on Cooper to get my acceptance or my decision, whatever. But yeah.
What aspects of art, since you want to go to a specialized art college, we could talk about what major, but what do you see yourself doing in 10 years? Like when you wake up, where are you going to go?
When I wake up.
You're going to be a designer? You're going to be painting in a studio somewhere? Do you want to...
I feel like it's just like 10 years is like very hard to see yourself in, especially like in certain circumstances. But I feel like I see myself designing something or maybe painting, or like some mix of between those two.
Okay, excellent.
Well,
You want to go all the way back to your 8th grade audition? Because that was kind of fun.
Yes, I always loved art, and my cousin was she has an art degree, but she didn't pursue art. But it very much inspired me, and then I actually went to middle school at K.O. Knudsen for orchestra, and for all 3 years I was in orchestra classes. I was a violist, and then, but obviously I was always doing art on the side. Maybe like instead of doing math homework, I was drawing. And then...
Yeah, but the funny thing is even in my class last year, who was the best singer and dancer?
Oh.
Because if we ever needed a great moment, you just like stand up and
Break out
start
and
singing.
song and
Yes.
dance.
Yeah, or once in a while a song would come on, and then
Yes.
like no one can keep up with you with all of your musical ability.
I do really love every aspect of art, and I feel like that really helps me an inspiration for a lot of my artwork. And then I was searching for schools because I knew I didn't want to do orchestra for at least my whole life, but especially not for high school. And LVA happened, and I have a family friend who works at like CCSD, and they told me about LVA, and when I did my own research, I learned about it, and it was very daunting because I hadn't had any schooling in art at all, but I applied myself and I did the requirements, and then going onto campus was terrifying. I was extremely nervous. We sat in your room waiting, and then we went to the other room to put our pieces down, our portfolio to lay it out, and then to the still life room to draw for 30 minutes. And it's kind of funny, but I remember we have tables and chairs, and I was the only one at my audition to sit on a table for it, and I felt really silly, but I knew it had to be done. And
we put the horses, like, it's an option.
Yeah.
So the still life is this giant pyramid of just a conglomeration of stuff.
Yeah.
And they have to select a view-found area. So I have them walk around it, and there's options. So the horses are up on the table and then also around on the floor. And I think some of the most brave and best are like, okay, this is a great view because I am not eye level.
And they climbed up onto the
And
table.
I got them up on those tables and they draw.
Just
So-
when we had the showgirls in your classroom.
Exactly,
So over the years,
exactly.
they would stand on those tables. Wow.
And
That is
so I
brave.
think, yeah,
Thank you. But yeah, it's definitely scary. But you know,
but we're also
Right.
nice when we welcome you.
What?
I think I'm still
You're not
scared of it.
intimidated
I think
at all.
I'm still scared of you.
But no, it is very welcoming. You know, you have students that help you do it.
Right.
And I do remember, though, everyone would always say, you know, pick a good, like, 2 to 3 objects to draw, and don't pick too much big of a space. And then I think I picked, like, 6, and it was very large, but I was able to get it done.
Well, and
through stress.
obviously, like, we selected you guys,
Right.
and you accepted your seats, and, you know, there's, even as, I don't know, 8th grade, what are you guys, 14? 15?
Wait,
Yeah.
at
13,
8th grade?
14.
Eighth grade.
Yeah, it's
Like
so
14, 15?
14,
yes,
yeah.
there was that innate ability to see, to crop, to feel, to make those decisions, and it's just become so easy for us because compiled with that and the wherewithal, they go to school 46 minutes longer than any other student. Everybody else is out at 1:16. And we're all still working, sometimes till 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I mean, the bell rings at 2, but it's a whole different level of student. And I think just the audition process itself separates the girls from the women. No.
Or the boys from the men.
Yes. I didn't want to say that, but yes. Anything else
Last-
about, I don't know. And now you're with Mr. Ibarra and you're
Yes.
doing color theory. Like, what do you, I don't know. Was it like everything you guys expected? Like, what did you think was going to happen that first year?
Oh,
I
honestly, I wasn't sure if I would be even accepted, and then going in there and I saw a bunch of other people like prepared, but I did, thank God, and being there, and I was just, honestly, I feel like in your class you don't even realize that you're learning. As I feel like.
You're gonna make me cry.
I honestly, I was just, you know, following directions, applying, you know, if things had bad craftsmanship, I had to do it again, and I would, and I was just trying to learn as much as possible. I knew, like, it's very hard to get in, and I was very grateful for that. I still am, And so going into it and learning, and yeah, color theory is very hard. I miss the days of black and white charcoal. It's extremely hard. And then going into oil paint, it's hard, even harder than this was. And
you're gonna master it.
right.
And then
hopefully.
look at these guys are on the opposite end.
Right. And yeah, I just hope I can continue growing and learning moving forward.
Wow.
Yeah. How about you?
8th grade, I was COVID, so it was
Tough
it
times.
was yeah.
It's all
Hard
It
to
was all
remember.
online, and it was funny because 6th grade through 8th grade, I was in my art class, and I originally wanted to do, in my middle school, they had a culinary program, and I really wanted to do culinary, but everyone else does. So like everyone got, or I didn't get a seat in culinary, so my second choice was art, so I got put in my middle school art class, and then I really enjoyed it, and so I was like, oh, like, you know, this is something I want to do, and I actually, like, my art teacher at the time had like 4 levels of art, so there's beginning, intermediate, and advanced art, and then she had a special studio art class for people she like hand selected to put in that class and that elective, and I really wanted to do it in 6th grade, so I did like, I'd call it an audition process for her studio art class, and I got into her studio art class, and then after like midway through 7th grade, it just got all shut down, and so then it was like, you know, it was all online. My half of my 7th grade and then all through 8th grade year, and then
So did you draw at home when you were stuck
yeah,
at home?
yeah, at home, like, you know, I usually just draw like I usually would just draw like characters and just random things and like things I just would find interest in, and my sister had previously went to LVA for film, and she was like, you should audition, you should audition. I was like, okay, and like I had to go through the audition online, and it was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be, because like they're like set up like a still life and do like a contoured like line drawing of a shoe, and I'm like, I don't even know what a contour and line drawing is, and so I had to like look it up and like
But you
figure
did,
it out, yeah.
right? And so that just, I don't know, I'm just so impressed,
Yeah.
you know, and then to see the level, you guys come, you know, I don't see you sophomore, and then we have junior and senior year together again to revisit and like just build and hone all of what you're interested in. I think senior year now you guys have even more kind of open-ended media opportunities and get to mix, and I don't know, and then we're getting ready to start Silkscreen, so I try to keep it as exciting as possible so that by the time they graduate, whether they're going to go down the art path or not, that they've had a buffet of skills and media concepts, techniques, that no matter what, you guys are going to be phenomenal problem solvers for the rest of your lives. Like, we just finished a 24-hour challenge. Like, I just gave them, I was like, you got to use a minimum of 3 paint chips. Take your sustained investigation theme, go. And you've got 24 hours to get this done.
Wow.
So there's a lot of those, I think, long-term life skills that I try to embed, like, secretly. Like, you have a bunch of stuff that's unrelated to your idea, and I almost cried, like, during their critique. Every single one of them was so poignant and relevant to what they're going through as an early young adult, getting ready. Like, you guys are on this precipice of, you just got accepted to the school, like your favorite school. You want to talk about that too?
Yeah. I got accepted to College for Creative Studies in Detroit with like a pretty big scholarship, and then so I was like, you know, in like the beginning of senior year, I had like I didn't have an intention to go to college, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and so I was just like, they had a portfolio night at my school, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to see what they're gonna tell me, because like, you know, it'll put me in some sort of direction, I feel like. So I looked at all the schools that they had, and I saw one of them was College for Creative Studies, and I looked at their programs, and like I have an interest both in cars as well as art. And so I was like, I would be like, I wanted to combine, like, if I could combine what I like to do and put that into, like, make that my career / job, like, I would love to do that, like, you know. And so they had a transportation design program. So they, like, you know, they design
wow.
cars, buses, planes, anything, like, you know, from, like, the interior to exterior of transportation. And I was like, you know, it's literally what I was thinking. Like, what a perfect
Wow.
What a perfect
Sounds
thing.
like a great college.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
And so, yeah, I got my portfolio reviewed by them, and they're like, wow, this is really good. You definitely have a lot of good design elements in your artwork. And, like, they're like, you don't need to know how to draw cars right now. Like, you know, we're not looking for that. Or they're looking for, like, design elements and, like, you know, how you use your elements and principles of art just, like, to create things. And then she was like, yeah, you definitely know what you're doing. And so she's like, don't worry about, like, you know, needing to do exactly what people in college are doing right now. Like, we'll teach you that. And so they're like, she's like, yeah, like, apply. And so then I applied, and then usually you have a portfolio submission, and as I was applying, the admissions lady remembered me, and she was like, oh, I remember you. I remember your portfolio. She's like, you don't need to submit your portfolio. You're good. Like, you're fine. Like, we accepted your portfolio.
Review.
And so I was like, perfect. Like, I got it. And so I just waited on my acceptance, and I got accepted, and I was like, perfect. And in this spring break, I'm going to Torrick to, you know, look at the college down in Detroit and, you know, really look at it. And I think it's probably something I really want to do, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting moment.
Very exciting.
Yeah. So that's one of the best parts of kind of, and I don't have all of the ninth graders, so they're split between Mr. Ibarra and myself. But then when they come back as juniors, like, I can't wait to have you back next year. And then, like, senior year, they're about to embark on all of these wonderful opportunities, and, like, the scariness, the excitement, like, what's gonna happen. Like, it's a lot. Yeah.
Well,
No,
I think they're so prepared when they come from the Las
hope
Vegas
so.
Academy of the Arts. Because I've talked to students, Autumn, who's up at
Sure.
UNR. I mean, her first semester, she said she enjoyed it, but it wasn't as challenging as she thought it was going to be because you had such high expectations. She said that you really set the bar.
Good.
For,
It's good. I need to know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and academically too, by far, I know that we have the best academic opportunities, and the intellectual level of all of the academic teachers and instructors at our school are just, it's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least for me, on my side of it. I'm sure not everybody gets along or, you know, is excited to go to every single class every single day. And just the diligence and the amount of hours that our students invest in their work, regardless of what major it is, I don't know. I feel like it's an honor for me to work with them. I learn from them on a daily basis.
And I feel like it's an honor for me to be involved with the students as well, and coming into the schools. And like I said, the community looks forward to your art every year. They can hardly wait to see what the students are going to come up with. What else?
I don't know. Wrap it up.
So I just want to thank all of you for coming in and taking the time to talk about your experiences and your involvement with the Showgirl art competition and presentation funded by the Showgirl Legacy Foundation. Congratulations on both of you for your college opportunities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we're still going to see you
Yes.
next year.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I will be back.
Good. And I will see Miss Mabel April 24th
Yeah.
because we're having our 19th annual Showgirl art presentation at the Las Vegas Academy of the Arts. So I will be seeing you April 24th.
Their fabulous guest panel, Showgirls in Costume.
Yes, and
Hopefully Wes can join us for the
every year he
piano
looks forward to
finale.
coming back and playing for the students and talking to the students. We have Terry Ritter and Jerry Blank, professional artists in the community that come and talk about what it takes to be a professional artist as well. And we already have Brooke and Anthony Brown returning.
Very
So
good.
it's going to be a great presentation. If you're interested in any more information or finding out about us, you can look, you can send me an email at luann@showgirllegacy.org. And you can also check our websites, showgirllegacy.org and www.castandcrewreunion.com. So thanks again for joining us,
Thank you for having
you.
us.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
and we'll see you at the next Showgirl Connection.